Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 24th, 2016 edition, episode number 58 of Balls Deep Sports Talk with me, your host, with the one and only Scotty Ball. And thank you, as always, for finding your way to the show this week, whether it be on SoundCloud, YouTube, or my personal favorite, the Spreaker app. And in case you were wondering, we will be up and running on GreatLakesRadio.com any week now. So we will have our internet radio platform available in the extremely near future as well. So no matter how you've been finding your way to the show, thank you very much for taking the time to listen each and every week. It really does mean a lot to me. And if you happen to be a real Super Balls deep diehard fan and you just can't get enough of me, then make sure that you're connecting with me on social media. Search Scotty-Ballfriend and like me on Facebook, or follow the show on Twitter at BDST Show. Both of those are great ways not only to keep up to date and up to speed with everything that I'm doing here on the show, but it's also a great way to for me to share with you all the current sports news that I find interesting that's going on. When I'm not recording the show, I try to keep my Facebook almost, at least 90% or better, just sports, posting news and things like that, and same with Twitter. So it's a great way to get your sports news from me as well on a 7-day-a-week basis. And also it's a great way to stay up to speed with what I'm doing on VikingsDigitalDiaries.com, where each week I get to interview a football player. For the past 2 months it's been former Minnesota Vikings, but now here this week I started interviewing current NFL draft and free agent prospects. And this week my first guest was the punter of the Minnesota Gophers, Peter Mortel, and it was a really fantastic interview. But all of those links to all those interviews and the other great content on VikingsDigitalDiaries.com can very easily be found by liking, friending, and following yours truly on Facebook and Twitter. And just a heads up, we're going to be trying to keep the show to around a 90-minute show, give or take, so likely just a little over 2 hours, if you know me. But that's what we're going to be going for here this week, like we've been doing the last several weeks, month or two, here on the show. But that can be easier said than done at times, because, I love to talk sports with you guys, and quite often there's a lot of interesting stuff going on to talk about. So let's get to our overview of what we're going to be talking about here on this week's episode. Well, as I'm sure you would guess, following last week's huge March Madness college basketball tournament show that we did, that we will definitely be following up and checking in on how things played out in the first 2 rounds of the March Madness NCAA men's college basketball tournament, seeing how my picks that I gave you guys for your brackets did, and then getting you up to speed on where we're at here starting tonight. The Sweet 16 does in fact kick off tonight, and that will conclude tomorrow, and then the Elite 8 will occur over the course of Saturday and Sunday. So lots of college basketball to talk about on tonight's show. And of course we'll talk pro NBA basketball as well. My and possibly your Minnesota Timberwolves picked up a rare win last night over the Sacramento Kings, believe it or not. So we'll talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, as well as taking a look around the league, seeing where the Golden State Warriors are at in regards to their flirting with the best regular season NBA record of all time, as well as the complete playoff picture standings, and a little bit of LeBron news maybe as well. We will do the same treatment for hockey that we are doing for basketball is we will not only talk pro hockey with my and possibly your Minnesota Wild picking up a win 2 nights ago over the Los Angeles Kings and playing tonight against the Calgary Flames. So lots going on with the Wild, currently sitting in possession of the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference, and they are competing with the Colorado Avalanche for that spot. So we will look in with them, as well as, again, looking around the entire league at the standings and the playoff pictures, as both professional hockey and professional basketball seasons are about 1 to 2 weeks away from concluding and start determining who is going to be in their playoffs. And then also in regards to hockey, we will be talking college hockey, as we have both men's college hockey D1 tournament news to discuss, as well as women's college hockey news. A champion has been crowned, and so we will discuss that as well. Then we will shift our focus a little, well, not necessarily then, I shouldn't say, these aren't in any particular order, but at another point in time we will be talking about Major League Baseball. We'll check in on the Twins, see where they are sitting, and if they are looking ready or not to start the season here on April 4th in Baltimore against the Orioles. And I'll also be letting you know when you can expect my Major League Baseball season preview extravaganza version 2.0. This would be when you can look forward to that as well. In addition to any other baseball news, we've got NFL to discuss as always. We'll be checking in on my and possibly your Minnesota Vikings. We'll be talking several different stories around the league involving RG3, a sad story with Trey Walker, the Rams, premium cable television, China, and rule changes. So lots of NFL football to discuss. Good job, NFL. Finding a way to make us care about you and talk about you when almost nothing's going on. We'll also be talking pro wrestling, not just WWE, where we are just 2 weeks away from WrestleMania 32, but we will also be discussing Lucha Underground and the episode that occurred last night, kind of getting you up to speed on where we're at here in Season 2 of Lucha Underground. It is the best wrestling ever to watch. Like, it's the best wrestling TV show ever of all time. It's not even close. If you're a wrestling fan and you're not watching this, you're not a wrestling fan. And if you're not a wrestling fan and you're not watching this, if you are a wrestling fan and you're not watching this, you're not a wrestling fan. If you're not a wrestling fan and you're not watching this, you should watch an episode. You might become a wrestling fan. That's how amazing Lucha Underground is. But they had their their version of the Royal Rumble was their hour episode last night called Aztec Warfare. So we'll let you know all of the amazingness and craziness that went down there. We'll also be discussing some UFC news, as there is big business news involving the UFC. And a big change that makes Dana White extremely happy that we'll be discussing, as well as Ronda Rousey and Ronda Rousey's mom specifically dropping what was a bombshell on some people. Not really. But anyway, it's interesting. And, thank you TMZ for all of a sudden being like the number one news source in the world. Like, it's ridiculous how many news stories TMZ breaks. But anyway, off topic a little bit. We'll also be discussing maybe just a tidbit of soccer news, as there was a passing in the world of soccer, as well as there is an event in the world of soccer taking place this summer at a new stadium that is going to be opening fairly soon here in the state of Minnesota, called US Bank Stadium. And we'll also be discussing the big first ever rock concert that's going to be at that very briefly. We might have just a little bit of time for some fantasy sports legality news, in addition to some golf news, primarily involving what could be fairly long-term injury for one of the sport's top young faces and stars in the game. Phew, wow, that's it. That's all. Nothing, not too much. Uh, yeah, so that's what we got all planned here, at least anyway, to discuss on tonight's show, or this week's show, I should say. Technically, I'm recording it during the day. After all, for once, this is weird. Like I've been uncomfortable this whole time, and I'm trying to figure out what is it? What is it? What's throwing me off? I think it's the sunlight. While I'm recording this, it's really foreign. It's really conflicting with my the normal mood and atmosphere that I create to get in to for the show to talk with you every week. But anyway, yeah, so let's get enough about me, let's talk about me. No, enough about me, let's talk some sports. So now that you have heard all of the candidates for this week's that would be worthy to open this week's show in our hit opening segment, we won't say it yet, hold on. If you play the at-home balls deep gambling or drinking game, time to get your drink ready, or place your wager as to what the topic will be. And unlike last week, where it was pretty much a freebie as to what the topic was going to be, this week there are, I think it's really up in the air as far as what we're going to go with. I mean, there's championships that were won in the state here that are very worth talking about and on fire. The Wild's playoff push, definitely very worthy as well. I mean, I love football. There's freaking rule changes, for crying out loud, to the game of football. So obviously, we're fired up about that. We got mega rock concerts at U.S. Bank. Aztec Warfare last night. OMG. All kinds of stuff. It's totally up in the air. And here's the coin flip. Luckily, we got the ref. We didn't get the ref, I should say, that was working the Cardinals-Packers game. We had someone here that actually knows how to flip the coin in a coin flip. And what Scotty Ball is most on fire about this week is still the March Madness NCAA Men's College Basketball Tournament. That is right. For a rare 2 weeks in a row, we are going to have the same theme, same general theme and general topic, opening the show in our hit opening segment. Now you can all say it with me, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Balls on fire. That's right. What's got me, yours truly, Scotty Ball, the most on fire, the most heated up. And this week, for a second consecutive week, it is the Men's College Basketball Tournament. And you can sit back, relax, and enjoy finding out why. And the one little teaser I'll give you right now on that is it's probably going to be different than why you may be fired up. But I think just in general it's different than how most people are fired up at this time of year. But here's the thing. All right, starting off, I love the game of basketball. Probably my third favorite sport now at this point in my life. For the majority of my life, it was my second favorite sport. Not for all of it, but for the majority of it. But when it comes to watching it and following it, I'm mostly an NBA pro basketball guy. That being said, I think one of my favorite sporting events, if not my favorite sporting event or occasion or time of year, is in fact the college basketball tournament, because it's just its own unique, one-of-a-kind beast. And so that got me to asking myself, well, why is that? It's not my favorite sport. It's not even my favorite level of my favorite sport. Why is it pretty much my favorite sporting event? My annual sporting event, not just the championship itself, but the tournament, counting NFL playoffs, an entire season of anything